Good morning. How are you? Thank you so much for joining us on JCTV Africa, Zim Social, and all other platforms. Today, we want to take a look at Douglas Mwonzora. He has been fired, and want to look at what went wrong and what are the things that caused Douglas Mwonzora to be where he is right now. The position of being fired, the position of being partyless now, position of not being able to pour any word or even any seat. I want us to go back to 2018 and find out Douglas Mwonzora's statements and what he was saying and the pushes that he then made. So this is I'm going to be a little bit quicker today on this one. We're just going to be maybe for the 10 or 15 minutes. First of all, if you checked during the 2018 elections, during the interviews that were being held, Douglas Mwonzora emphasized on the issue of dialogue after realizing that MDC had lost to Zanu-PF, whether by rigging or chicanery or whatever, they had lost, and the results were being announced by SEC. They went to the Constitutional Court. Nothing materialized. So what then happened was that Douglas Mwonzora, in all his interviews that he was doing, if you check some of the interviews with Professor Moore on SABC, he was saying that they wanted to dialogue with Zanu-PF. And the issue of dialogue was emphasized. Even Peter Ndoro asked Chamisa why he didn't want to have dialogue with Zanu-PF. And Nelson Chamisa stance and Douglas Mwonzora stance, they clashed. The first thing that they clashed was that Nelson Chamisa believed that dialogue was going to be a disadvantage to MDC. Why did he believe that it was going to be a disadvantage? Judging on the experience of 2008 up to 2013, it weakened MDC from the inside. A number of things happened. You remember Tsvangirai lost his wife, and he married the first wife, and then he married the wife that he eventually died with. So there was a lot of mockery that also happened to Morgan Tsvangirai during the course of his prime ministership. So these are the things that Nelson Chamisa was afraid of. He was afraid that what happened to Morgan Tsvangirai, they believed that Morgan Tsvangirai might have been poisoned during the time of GNU era for him to have colon cancer. So he knew all those things, Nelson Chamisa. So his stance was, we cannot dialogue with Zanu-PF unless there are other players who are outside of Zimbabwe who can negotiate or mediate these talks. Whereas Douglas Mwonzora was believing that they can negotiate with Zanu-PF, and his stance was, let's negotiate with Zanu-PF and change electoral reforms. If you check, these are the things that he went with to the likes of Morgan Komichi, to the likes of Elias Mzuri, to the likes of all other leaders that are in the MDCT now. He went to them with those offers to say, let's negotiate with Zanu-PF. Let's push for the electoral reforms in the GNU, because if we can change Zanu-PF from the inside, or if we can push Zanu-PF to amend a constitution from the inside, then we can then go to the election. If we check Morgan Komichi in his interview when he was having a debate with Paul Mangwana and the former mayor of the former mayor of Harare, Jacob Mafumi, he said this. He said that if we go to elections, it's just a sheer waste of time. We need to have electoral reforms. So Douglas Mwonzora was pushing for electoral reforms of ZEC and saying that we don't want to have a disputed election in the near future. Was this idea bad, or were these thoughts that Douglas Mwonzora had, were they bad? No, they were not bad. But the challenge that you then had was that Zanu-PF was not willing to, Zanu-PF is not going to reform itself out of power. So trying to negotiate with them, you are trying to negotiate with somebody, one, who is not remorseful. Number two, you are trying to negotiate with someone who is not willing to move their stance. Look at what happened with the likes of Godfrey Tsenengam. why were they fired from Zanu-PF? They had this same stance that Douglas Mwonzora had. The likes of Killer Zivu, why was he removed from his position? He had this stance of saying, negotiate with Nelson Chamisa on these terms. So Douglas Mwonzora's stance, it was good, but the person that they, or the party or the organization that he wanted to negotiate with was not willing and is not willing to listen to the demands of the opposition. If you check even the time of GNU when they were drafting the constitution, these traits were seen. When they came to a deadlock, if you go and watch those videos, you find out that they came to a deadlock when it came to the issue of presidential terms. It actually got to a point whereby, if you watch, there's a video where Mugabe was trying to mock Mwonzora and Mangwana and saying that Iwe Douglas Mwonzora and Mangwana wako. It was on that issue of saying they wanted to reduce the years of presidentship, and that included the current one, who was President Robert Mugabe by then. So this means that Zanu-PF has never wanted to reform itself and would never want to reform itself. So the issue of trying to negotiate with them to say, reform yourself, change these laws, change these things, it's not going to work. This is what Chamisa's stance was. So that's why they had a deadlock. And some of his statements to say, we're going to negotiate with Zanu-PF, the guys in MDC were saying, we cannot negotiate with Zanu-PF without a neutral party. Because if we try to negotiate with them, they are not going to understand us. They are going to negotiate with us from a position of privilege, of saying that we beat you in the 2018 elections, so we cannot negotiate with you, trying to make us change. We don't want to change because we are the winners here. So that is the problem. So now Chamisa was saying, we cannot negotiate with these guys. We cannot join Polad. So you then see that that was the problem that they had with Mwonzora. Then the second thing that they had, he had a desire to join Polad. And a number of leaders, which were like your church leaders, they were for that idea to say, let's suspend elections. We don't want to have any more bloodshed in elections like we had in 2000, 2008, and other times whereby people were beaten up and everything. We don't want any more political bloodshed. So these ideas were good, but they were premised on the bedrock of someone who doesn't want to negotiate, or someone who is negotiating from a position of privilege. So he wanted to join Polad. Joining Polad, you look at what happened to people that are in Polad. Are they making any progress? Are they changing any laws? Are they doing anything that is to change the political landscape of the country? No, they are not. So Nelson Chamisa saw that and saw that it was not going to help the opposition to join the Zanu-PF. And in that regard, if there was going to be that dialogue, the Zanu-PF was going to benefit more, not the MDC. So that was the reason why Nelson Chamisa was trying to say, I will not dialogue with Zanu-PF, because at the end of the day, it is to our loss. It is to us who are going to not benefit. We are not going to have ZEC reform. We are not going to have undisputed elections. Everything. It was not going to work towards changing the trajectory of the country. Then the fights that they had with Nelson Chamisa in 2019. In 2019, if you recall that Douglas Mwonzora challenged Nelson Chamisa to the presidency, and he lost the nominations, where it was at the last minute, that's when he said now he wants to challenge the SG position. And he went there at the 2019 Congress, and he lost. So what was then now left was that he lost in 2019. Elias Mzuri also was trying to push for reforms. Him was also trying to push for reforms, and the likes of Morgan Comich. Why were they pushing for reforms? You must understand that these individuals, they are people who have been in the political game of opposition for a long time, and they've not yielded anything to their that they can say we have managed to work and achieve A, B, C, D in the opposition or for their life, for their career, or for their political careers. So they also wanted to salvage something out of these 2018 elections in order to further their political career. Look at Elias Mwonzora. He was fired as the MP, as the mayor of Harare. He did not last long on that position. It was his position as a mayor. It was, you know, a lot of things that he could not enjoy his position as the mayor. So they wanted to salvage something. So this was the only way they could find positions in the government. Somebody, probably they were going to be appointed as ministers or deputy ministers or whatever position that they were going to get. It meant that they would have secured something for their career. Look at Douglas Mwonzora. He started protesting when he was still in university. He was jailed for supporting Edgar Tekere back in the 90s. He was with Zoom with Margaret Dongo. He was with with Polad when they formed that other party. So all these, you know, these frustrations of then seeing a young man like Nelson Chamisa coming and then take the reins of a party where he invested so much, because he invested when he was in ZCTU. He also invested when he was the legal advisor for MDC. So these are the things that you then find that Douglas Mwonzora pushed him. Then he needed a quorum. The quorum was that now he needed to have supporters. That's when he roped in the likes of Elias Mwonzora, Morgan Komichi, and he went to Thokozani Khupe. Going to Thokozani Khupe was not for Thokozani Khupe to benefit. It was for Thokozani Khupe to use Thokozani Khupe because he had no basis of taking over the MDC and forcing Zanu-PF to negotiate with them. He needed someone who can come in and then make sure that they take over the MDC and then take that leadership and use it to Zanu-PF. So how would that work? He went to Thokozani Khupe and tried to convince her that, look, you were not elected, that position of presidents was yours. You were not allowed to contest as a president, or you were not supposed to, that presidentship was yours. So because Thokozani Khupe was an aggrieved party, that meant that she obliged on the basis that all right, sorry, somebody was passing behind me. So now what I wanted to say was that these are the things that Douglas Mwonzora had. There was greed. There was also an issue of trying to take over the party that he knew that he had no power to take over because he wanted to push the dialogue agenda. And that did not happen. And you saw, then the other thing that people always probably make the mistake of thinking that Douglas Mwonzora was approached by Zanu-PF or something. I want to show you something. Douglas Mwonzora was warmed up by Zanu-PF. Why? Zanu-PF wanted to defragment Nelson Chamisa. If you checked in their statements, Zanu-PF wanted to make sure that Chamisa doesn't contest in the 2023 elections. Why? They wanted to reduce the age of presidency to 54, knowing that by the time we get 2023 elections, Chamisa would not be eligible to be the president of MDC. So when they found someone whom they knew that he could make the party weaker and make sure that MDC doesn't exist, they don't have that threat, they warmed up to Douglas Mwonzora. So If you read, there's a book called 40 Laws of Power. If you see that your enemy is weaker, don't give him a chance. Annihilate him, destroy them completely. So Douglas Mwonzora was then used by Zanu-PF in order to be a pawn that destroys MDC from inside, because they knew that Douglas Mwonzora does not have the people. They knew that Douglas Mwonzora does not have the support that he claims to have. They knew all that, but they wanted to destroy MDC from inside. If they destroy MDC from inside, which was their goal, even if they were going to go to dialogue, even if they were going to have Douglas Mwonzora as the president, they knew that they would have scored some goals. That's why they called Nelson Chamisa a partyless guy, somebody doesn't have a party and all of that. So every time when Nelson Chamisa was trying to reform himself to say, okay, we are still MDC, Douglas Mwonzora will make a move. Why? They didn't want Nelson Chamisa to have a share in the opposition, because he is a threat to Zanu-PF. He is a threat, he is more loved, and that's why the likes of Godfrey Ngamo is saying that negotiate with this guy. Don't negotiate with Mwonzora. Mwonzora doesn't have power, doesn't have the people. If you are negotiating with somebody like Nelson Chamisa, you are negotiating with an equal somebody. So these are the things that caused Mwonzora to go into this political career suicide. It was a political career suicide, because he thought he was going to convince, he was going to make a dialogue with Zanu-PF based on these premises of saying, one, we are going to find, we're going to make electoral reforms. Number two, we are going to change some laws, and we are not going to have disputed election. That was not going to happen, and it will never happen, because these are the people who we are trying to negotiate with. When they rig election and they are saying that we are in the position of power, they are not willing to negotiate. Instead, they are going to sink you in. Take a look now. In the time Douglas Mwonzora was there, he aided them to amend the constitution. So they can tell you their promise, and then they fail to keep their promise. So my assumption is that when he was then called to say, let's amend the constitution, there was in it something that was in it for them. They were saying, okay, if you amend the constitution, these are our demands. This is what we are going to do for you as the leader of the opposition. So it meant that he gave in because he was hoping that at the end of the day, he was going to get something, which he didn't get. So that is the political career suicide, which Nelson Chamisa saw when they went into dialogue with Zanu-PF in the 2008-2009 elections. So that is what Nelson Chamisa didn't want, and that is where the clash had, and that is where Douglas Mwonzora wanted to explore. But it was a rough terrain, and it was a sliding terrain, and that has led him to be where he is now. So that is all that I wanted to share with you. This is the reason why Douglas Mwonzora is in his position that he is now. It is because of, one, wanting dialogue, number two, wanting to explore electoral reforms, and not consider the suicide that was going to make in the event that MDC by then had negotiated with Zanu-PF, because Zanu-PF was not going to budge. They were not going to reform themselves out of power. Zanu-PF was looking to benefit from the opposition instead. They were not looking to try and negotiate and say, let's have equal ground. They were trying to say, opposition must be dead. We want to make sure that they are dead, just like what they did during the time of Mugabe. So that's all that I have. I want to read your comments before I go. Who is here? Let me just check here. Ngadzingwe, okay, no, we don't know. Okay, Yusuf Male, Matemera. Magazeta say, boys, you have a lot of work to do. Okay, watching from Botswana. Okay, Mwonzora Akadakwa, that's Priscilla. All right, Manje, okay, the opposition were supposed to be united if they dream big in 23. Okay, Mwonzora was so greedy of power. Yes, he was so corrupted with the desire to have power, and that was the reason why he got into where he is. A formidable opposition going into 2023 is needed. They need that alliance. Hence, Nelson Chamisa is calling to say, excuse me, those people that are in ZAPU, they must come and let's negotiate. Let's have a bigger group of people going into 2023. Because if you have one united opposition, there is no way that you are not going to defeat Mnangagwa, because you are not going to be having people coming from outside. You have people that are going to split the votes. I mean, so these are the good things. You're not going to have a lot of people on the ballot boxes, because now you have a one-page ballot box. Some of the votes are lost in the process, because remember, the process of voting, it's not like you are, some people are waiting outside. And if you're not going to read carefully, and some of the people who are in the rural areas, the problem that they have is that most of the time they are not having time to read and all of that. They are not reading newspapers. So the only time that they have something to read is the time they are going to vote. So when they are going inside the ballot box to vote, it's a quick thing. Where do I vote? But if you have got a long list of candidates, the likelihood of making mistakes is there. You understand? Hence, that's when you have assisted voters and then they vote for Zanu-PF. But if you have maybe 3 people on the ballot box, then it's going to be easy. Zanu-PF, Triple C, and maybe one other independent candidate. It makes the job quite easier. So a formidable opposition is also good. Okay, right. You're very right. That's Rich Maxwell. You fell into the Zanu-PF trap, used and dumped. That's Zanu-PF for you. We saw this coming. Thank you, Herman Taylor as well. Thank you. Good analytical, excellent. God bless. Thank you, my brother. Mwonzora zvangu fane ure rinopinda pane mari chete. Yeah. So then the last thing, is this the end of the political career for Mwonzora? I think this is the end. I don't see him coming back from this one, just like what happened to the likes of Vanamai Mujuru. I think he need to explore other avenues, probably his law career. But you know something, I was just thinking, you know, humorously in my mind yesterday that, okay, if you are going to give your case to Douglas Mwonzora to say, go and, you know, represent me in court, are you going to trust him just as a citizen, or maybe as a company? Are you going to trust him with his poor judgment like this? Everyone could see, every Jack and Jill could see that Douglas Mwonzora was not going to win anything, but he kept on, you know, pursuing that avenue, and yet he did not yield anything. Anyway, maybe he has other better skills in other areas, but in this one, it was one of those avenues that he pursued, which was a non-dead end, and he continued pursuing it despite of, you know, advices from people, and, you know, people, he kept on being adamant, and hence where he is now. So that is the problem. Edson Benevolence Mahacha, Zanu-PF can use you, throw you away. Mwonzora, I told you, Kwasara Java, Nantawas, Utvasungwe. Yes, I think I'm going to have a video on that one about DJ Towers and Passion Java. I foresee that these people are going to be dumped by Zanu-PF, and they are going to pursue other people, because clearly they could not convince the voter. They could not aid Zanu-PF in any other way. So I really think that Zanu-PF will not continue pumping money to help these people, the likes of Mwonzora, the likes of Passion Java, the likes of DJ Towers, because clearly they did not achieve the desired goal. Zanu-PF lost this election, and it's more highly likely that they are going to lose the 2020 election unless they do something. So these people are not going to continue being used, because probably Zanu-PF will see that they are putting their money in the drain. Who else is here? Mwonzora not be trusted in the law business. Wadona. Yes, that was a very big political career suicide, and also law suicide, because now who is going to trust Mwonzora with his court case? You know, are you going to trust Mwonzora yourself to say, okay, I'm giving this to Douglas Mwonzora? Is he going to make a fair judgment when going to court? You know, it's those things. So somehow you make those mistakes, but they actually have bigger ramifications on other things. Okay, Java was only able to bring Zanu-PF, Mugabe's son, into Zanu-PF. Yes, 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 my brother. Yeah. Some of the things people don't read the book of Tambaoga. Tambaoga, how he fell in the 2000s. You remember Tambaoga? If you just do the mathematics of what Tambaoga did when they were playing Rabbi Makashinga on ZTV and all the radio stations, if it was in successful countries, maybe like America or what, if that jingle was playing like it would do on an hourly basis to Tambaoga, imagine the years. Tambaoga was supposed to be a rich man, but Zanu-PF used him to do that propaganda because that was the only station that was there, and it indoctrinated and it got into our mind. Sometimes you find yourself singing, Rambai Makashinga, you know, because it was something that you constantly hear. And in that period, he thought he was scoring goals, but he was scoring on goals. So these are the things that people should learn when supporting the ruling party, because at the end of the day, you are committing a political career suicide. You are committing your own career suicide, just like Brian Mteki, where he is now. But look at the people who were there during this time. They are still in the political game. They are still in the music game. So these are the things that you should mind if you're watching this video and you want to go there and parade yourself, say, I support the ruling party. Things are different. This is not maybe South Africa. This is not Tanzania. This is not maybe the USA or UK, where you think that you are going to make a comeback. Zimbabweans are so much unforgiving, and you know that by doing that, you are actually committing a bigger suicide. Okay, a lawyer asingaoneri kudaro, asingaoneri kudaro. Komich said, MC Ikaluza, please call me. Ikaluza, please call me. He was so adamant. Yes. And the other thing, as I close this broadcast, that was there is that Douglas Mwonzora can convince you. He is very good. He's a charmer. He's somebody who put it, even when you do his press conference, he's somebody who put it, he's very articulate. My journalists, when they would ask him some questions, you answer them. So he's someone who put it, the likes of Vana Komishi, when he would, go to them and talk to them, he would convince them with the points. He would allay his points. So when he put his points here on the table, he'll be convinced. But deep down, he knew that he was just anyway. Thank you so much to everyone that has joined me this broadcast. I need to go. Okay, Divine Computers, my teacher, Madam Bosca Khupe, have not been an effect to Zanu-PF. Yes, they have not made any effect. So be careful to those who, can you bring the committee and president? Can you bring committee and the president of MD? Yes, I'll try to get in touch. I have their contacts. I'll get in touch with them and see if they can come here and we can talk about this development that we've seen, that Douglas Mwonzora has been fired, suspended actually from Zanu-PF, and is not allowed to hold any press conference. But anyway, there is another press conference that is going to be held today. We're going to be watching that one and giving you updates and analysis later in the day. But in the meantime, please have a good day. And I have not forgotten on the fundraising issue. I'm just contacting other stakeholders that are going to be part of that fundraising of polling agents. So please stay tuned. We're going to give you that update in due course. And we're going to announce what is going to happen. But I have to go to work, people. Thank you so much to everyone that participated in the live and your comments. And as I said in the other video, please, we are going to give you, we're going to have a new website and we're going to be showing you what are the things that we're going to be doing. But in the meantime, we want to make sure that this channel, this page, there is a lot of activity, and we're going to be doing a lot of things going into 2023. So we are going to be announcing the issue of the PVT, because we want to explore that route as well, the parallel voter tabulation. I'm going to talk about that maybe in a day or two. and I'm going to bring other guests. If you want to be part of our guest, please get in touch with me during the day, and then we can actually connect. If you are an expert in a certain area, you want us to talk, please get in touch with me on WhatsApp on this number. Please get in touch with me on WhatsApp on this number. If you want to be part of the guest, whether in the evening or any other day when you see us putting a live broadcast notice on Facebook, please get in touch with me and we can allow you to be one of our guests. Thank you. Who else is here before I close? Okay. Saka Moguti, Awasi Biological. Okay. Okay, Zanu-PF never took seats from CCC this election. This was their first. This was their first. Okay, yeah. Some are saying that there was some rigging there in Epworth and in Mutasa. But anyway, that's all that I have now for this broadcast. Anyway, for your own information, I'm going to have Gambako one day so that we can ask some of the questions that I see you guys giving me. We're going to have him one of the days on this platform. He's still in Zimbabwe, so we're going to see which day is suitable for him. So you can send in your questions so that we can send them to Gambako. We can fire them to Gambako. I see you are so eager. You spoke about Gambako, but anyway, we want to have him on the show and ask him his opinion. What is his stance on CCC? What went wrong, and all of that? We're going to have that on this platform. We do that with no fear and no favor. Oh, Mr. David Simango, how are you? Thank you, Mr. David Simango. So as my former pastor. But anyway, I have to go. Thank you. The number is there. Okay, let me put it back again. The number, it's +2773 638 2064. No calls, please. Just send me a message on WhatsApp. If I have time, then we can maybe talk on WhatsApp, but no calls on that number. Please just send me a message on WhatsApp and then we can take it from there. So get in touch with me on that number. Any day, if you want to be part of the guest, if you want to discuss something, if you want to support the channel and the page, please get in touch with me on that number. I'll see you on the next broadcast tonight or tomorrow, whenever I have free time. Thank you and have a good day.